Important story for parents to hear. Rise in teens on TikTok self-diagnosing themselves with rare mental health disorders, in most cases that they don't have, after watching videos on the social platform.
But I am choosing not to let this disease have me before it's time. I am choosing to live.
The biggest trend that seems to have taken TikTok by storm honestly has no end in sight. Over this past year alone, we've made so many videos on this channel, so many videos that I'm really proud of. I've tried to make the editing a hell of a lot better, and I'm trying to get better all the time with the information side of things. Looking up actual research, asking people who actually have DID and other disorders. And it couldn't be possible without any of you guys as well. I do appreciate every single one of you. In today's video, I've decided to make one big compilation, going over all of the people that we have debunked here on this channel for your entertainment. Of course, more importantly than that, it is just generally important, I think, to get these types of videos out and to show the internet who these people really are. I have had videos made on me this past year telling me that I shouldn't be making these videos as it's harmful to the community. But I tell you what, about 60 to 70% of these people who we cover in today's video have even come out themselves and told us that they're sorry for faking.
I don't think that I have DID. I made a mistake. I genuinely thought that I had DID.
So, no, I think I'm going to double down here and say these are certainly important. In this video as well, there are people with real diagnosis as well who talk about their experiences and call out other content creators, stating that the things and the disorders and the way that it is for them is just simply not how it works. Of course, these people have real therapists that are professionals in this field. So please sit back and relax, make a cup of coffee or two because it's going to be a long one, maybe even get some popcorn. Hit the like button for good measures, and well guys, I just want to say thank you first, and secondly, I really hope you guys enjoy today's video.
People calling us fake and saying they don't believe us and they don't believe we're real. That's not going to stop us. We want to educate the general public on dissociative identity disorder. We want to show that it's not scary and that we're not monsters. We're not what Hollywood makes us out to be.
Everybody, it's Asher, the best alter, at our psychiatrist appointment. Me, Alex, and Art all talked to him. It was nuts. There's our diagnosis. We got the DID and the depression. Shout out, we got the big sad.
And as we've been scrolling through the A System videos, I haven't seen much educational content, except for maybe that first video, which honestly was pretty misleading. TikTokers like him will do anything for views, likes, and the perks. Claiming to have these disorders makes them feel special and gets them attention, and it's actually their ticket to escape reality and find a community of fellow phonies.
Art, and this is a special day in a life. Hey, it's Asher.
What up, it's Jonas.
Let's go to lunch.
And the other thing is, like, when we hear disorder or the word disorder, we jump on it like, oh, it's a bad thing, or that it's disordering your life, that it's but it's actually the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, I wouldn't give it up for the world now that I have it. It's the coolest thing ever. It's completely changed my life for the better. And I'm so glad that I have, like...
The coolest and best thing that has ever happened to you? Either she has the worst life ever imaginable to mankind, or the more likely thing, considering she's basing it off of Pokemon at this stage, she's just full of shit. Saying DID is literally the best thing I have ever had is just so offensive, again, to the people that really do suffer with this. Look, I'm just gonna say this. Ask someone who actually has this disorder and ask them, oh, is this the best thing that has ever happened to you? I'm sure they probably wouldn't even know how to answer that. It'd be like going to a hospital and going up to someone with terminally ill cancer and saying, is this the best thing that has ever happened to you? It's crazy. And if any of you guys who are watching this video right now are officially diagnosed, then I would love to hear your take on this one in the comments. Because to be honest with you, my brain cell can hardly keep up with the outrageous stuff that she's claiming at this point. She thinks it's a blast because she doesn't have to deal with real life struggles of DID because she doesn't have it, like disorientation and visible confusion that come with it. And if you've been living with this for years, it probably infuriates you wondering why you have to endure this unseen condition. It's really insane to see someone trivialize these experiences, and honestly, TikTokers like Two Souls One Bod are only adding to the stigma about DID. People who aren't a part of this community, for example, I do see some comments down below claiming that DID doesn't even exist. It's made up, fabricated. But again, once you've spoken to people that actually have an official diagnosis, I think you quickly understand that that's really not the case. But it's people like Jesse and James who give it such a bad rep that make people think that way. And I can't really blame them for having that opinion. If I go onto TikTok and that's all I've seen is people changing into different characters, well, yeah, I mean, I would probably question it as well.
I got my hat! Whoa.
Don't let that fool you. She does actually have her hat. That is probably gonna be the only truthful thing that this TikToker is gonna say throughout the rest of the video. A bit of a backstory though. Yes, she is self-diagnosed and that she claims that she has DID and a young alter called Bug.
No, it's Bug, and I don't have I'll show you my times very quickly. These are times we've had for a few days now.
Honest to God, why are half of them called Bug? This is the second one now. This is getting ridiculous. For those of you that are a little confused, like I was honestly before I started making these videos, as I know DID isn't exactly the world's most known disorder. In fact, it's extremely complex, and I actually think that's why a lot of these TikTokers like to use it, because not a lot is really known about it. Even now, I'm sure they're making new discoveries on how it actually happens and on how it actually works. But a quick Google search can at least fill you in on some of the details, as this is what it says online about the disorder, stating, overview, what is dissociated identity disorder, otherwise known as DID? Dissociated identity disorder, DID, is a mental health condition. If you are living with DID, it means that you have two or more separated identities. These personalities control your behavior at different times. Each identity has its own personal history, traits, likes and dislikes. DID can lead to gaps in memory and hallucinations, believing something is real when it isn't. Dissociated identity disorder used to be called multiple personality disorder, split personality disorder, and then stating what it's actually like to live with the disorder. There are ways to make living with DID easier. A strong support system can make living with DID more manageable. Make sure you have healthcare providers, family members, and friends who know about and understand your condition. Communicate openly and honestly with the people in your support system, and don't be afraid to ask for help. One of the things that I would like to add in though is, I know for a fact none of these therapists are telling people like this to go and create a TikTok to go and show what people online what it's really like this TikToker does when she pretends to be a 4-year-old, aka her little alter, Bug.
Okay, so we finished Unicorn Act. It was very fun. We might play a little more.
Yes, thank you, Bug. I'll take it from here, thank you.
Alright everyone, thank you for attending this Demon High Council meeting.
Now I know no one wants to be here, but this is very important. And you're all hell's shining examples of evil.
Now, before we get down to the numbers of it all, let's go ahead and do roll call.
Felgen, Beast of the Putrid Flame.
Here.
Zergal, the Black Mouth, Smaller of Children.
Here.
Elsie, the Boss Babe. Kelsey.
Yes, here. Oberius, the Controlling, Bender of Minds. Obviously I'm here. Carthax, the Destroyer, Siege of the Seven Realms. Garthax?
He's not here.
Are you kidding me?
He's been completely AWOL for months.
Yeah, no, he's been completely gone. The human suffering department is kind of falling apart. Fuck. Of course we can't just start a meeting off like normal. Okay.
So, after a while, Vermin decides to spice things up by introducing more demonic alters into the mix. I know, in this video, we're going to be getting into the Halloween spirit a little bit earlier than usual, because these fakers always love to dress up in spooky costumes for the camera. I mean, she's got demonic altars, and for some reason, even a Jesus altar Honestly, quite the diverse cast of characters, covering all grounds, I guess, at this point. Well, honestly, I've never really messed with someone before who could summon Jesus instantly. I gotta admit, guys, I'm a little bit terrified. If you guys could please hit the like button so I may carry on. It will give me the strength.
Recently we posted a video where we mentioned, among some other silly altars that we have in our system, a fictive of Jesus Christ. He pretty much just fronts, on a rare occasion when somebody will say like, Jesus Christ, he'll just front and be like, hey, what's up? And then before we can ask any questions or get any clarification, he just laughs and then pieces out. You know what's like super countercultural, actually? Being Christian? I don't know, maybe think about it or whatever. Like, no pressure, do your own thing. I'm desperate. JK, LOL, unless you want me to be. Anyway, see you at Sunday, I hope. Yours truly, Jesus Christ.
We have multiple warriors cats living in our brain forever. What do you mean? What do you mean? We have a fictive of Jesus Christ.
Why would you tell them that? Why do you think I'm hiding?
Alright, now, what's her new disorder? Well, now she's claiming to have ADHD. The fakery just never seems to end with this one, as she's proudly asserting to have this. Yet, she hasn't mentioned receiving a proper diagnosis from a real professional. For any of the conditions she claims to have, by the way, so far, making her credibility very questionable. It's pretty obvious at this point she's just simply adding more disorders to her collection, and her demonic altars are only worsening over time.
Yeah, smoking in pretty much any form, cigarettes, cigars, vapes, THC, all of these things can be a form of stimming. And I would go as far as to say that they are very common ways that people will stim. Like they're saying you can visually stim with looking at the embers or watching the smoke. A lot of people I've known also like to play with lighters and watch the flame.
And we've looked into this quite recently on the channel, what stimming is. An uncontrollable motion that feels kind of nice to do as kind of a little bit of a relief. Smoking is not a stim. Despite what chronic smokers will tell you, pulling out a cigarette and lighting it and smoking the whole thing for about 2 minutes wasn't a sudden movement that accidentally happened. Oh no, I smoked the whole pack again. Gosh darn these stims, they are really getting out of control now. But it doesn't just stop there, as a lot of these TikTokers I find get extremely comfortable with the fame of making up stuff on their TikToks that they seem to start creating other disorders. And the way that they try and play these all together doesn't make any sense. For example, here we have someone who's claiming they now have Tourette's because one of their altars has Tourette's.
God. Having Tourette's is this fucking nightmare. Where the more upset you get about your tics, the worse they get. So you have to just like distract yourself and think about something else while you're like, fuck me.
Like, I've seen countless videos of this girl and she hasn't ticked in any of them. All of a sudden now she can't get through 20 seconds without ticking. I have had tics. This isn't how it works. Again, I know it's different for everyone, but this is just so far-fetched. I can confidently say this is BS. With other TikTokers completely taking over the internet a few years ago when this was blowing up. With one of these creators, as I remember, stating that he could easily switch who he wanted in his body, making videos talking about it. Which honestly at this point, if you do even 5 minutes of research on DID, it doesn't work like that. I feel like unfortunately though, TikTok is such short form content, and it goes back to why would someone like to fake this online anyway? That I know a lot of people don't want to go and do the research after. And I don't really blame them. If anything, I blame the people making the videos, obviously.
This is ridiculous. Now the back one. Yeah, you can see the other guy? That guy's a gorilla. We won't let him in because he'll go run around and find some trees and shit. But this one over here, he's a young artist. His name's Panther. Do you want to help him? Hello. Bye-bye. There you go.
But as my guy is literally casually having lunch and seamlessly switching, again, I've spoken to people that have a DID, they tell me how it's not a very nice experience and can be quite dramatic. This guy is doing it like a pro. It makes no sense. Which honestly started this huge trend of people setting up their cameras to catch their switches online. It honestly did take the internet by storm a few years ago, which, a side note, only 1% of the world actually suffers with DID, but here a few years ago it seemed like overnight everybody had it, but mainly kids, which is another red flag, being a little bit more impressionable at that younger age. So they created even more TikToks like this.
I can feel it coming on. Guess the player.
Oh, my bad. I didn't know you were filming. Hey guys. Oh. Alright, I'm gonna go. Sorry.
I hid for a while. I was able to hide in the chicken coop and behind Greta's skirts when people couldn't see me. But they know I'm here now, and that's okay. Because everyone's really nice, and I got a baby.
Oliver, where did you get the baby from? All jokes aside, it's incredibly disgusting to see this, and it is disgusting to also see how it's taken over TikTok. Something that I do find at least a little bit funny is the fact that a lot of these people seem to get cured. Like, notice how it's not a very big trend anymore. It's not popping up nowhere near as much anymore. So a lot of these TikTokers aren't even talking about it anymore, except for the ones that actually have it. And again, I'm glad that I speak out against this because I see these people faking this type of stuff to be just as disgusting as when people fake cancer. Making it into a big joke is just kind of disgusting, whichever the disorder happens to be. Of course, I have been called out for this countless of times now on TikTok with people making videos like these.
Hey Ablaze, I'd really like to have an open, honest conversation with you. I am very curious why you instantly believed Eva Marie. Instantly believed her, like that she has DID. I'm not saying she doesn't, that they don't. She probably does.
Okay, cool. We're on the same page then. And also probably because she didn't alter as SpongeBob SquarePants, which it certainly helps to make it a little bit easier to believe them.
So it has come to my attention that I'm being bullied across multiple platforms. I would first off like to state that I'm 100% certain that I have a higher IQ than this musty white boy. He looks like he hasn't showered in over a year and probably smells like piss. Bro is so bitter and lonely. He really said, oh, if she were in bed with me, ew. I'm sorry you get no bitches. Don't worry, nobody's gonna be in your bed, I promise you that. This is just another cis white man that's trying to oppress and alienate an already oppressed group. Time to waste on pieces of shit like this. And buddy, if you're seeing this, wash your face, brush your teeth, jump scare. Maybe try putting on a mask or wearing a paper bag for your next YouTube video. I know your parents probably never told you this before, but I love you.
Yes, I'm the one doing the bullying, apparently. Guys, I'm not an incel. I don't hate women. My girlfriend's a woman. I only hate her sometimes.
Jump scare.
It's certainly a good response video when your only response back to the person is to take the piss out of their looks. What a very put together, well thought out argument. I think I lost that one.
But I'm 100% certain that I have a higher IQ than this musty white boy.
No, I'm just recording a video. Also, at work today, I was literally like, wow, that's good ink. I was like, I wonder what it feels like. And I squirted it out on my hands, and I was like this. It stains. My coworker said it stains. Don't do it. Don't do it. But the thing is, the more she said don't do it, the more I was like,
and that I have a higher IQ.
It was ink, right? And it looked like it would. I wanted to know what it would feel like in my hands.
But honestly, at the end of the day, I definitely still think it's totally worth creating these videos. And I just want to say thank you guys for actually watching them. I really do appreciate every single one of you. That is to everyone who even just watches, leaves a comment, leaves a like on the video, or who has been subscribed for quite a while now. I really do appreciate every one of you.
That's your opinion. Again, it's not the children in the systems or the children mindsets that are posting. It's the big in that. letting their voices, their little voices, still be heard. Wow. And edited by the big mind. So it's not the children posting. It's the big posting for the children. See, you should know this as a system. I recognize your name and your system. We've had this conversation before. Your system is yours. You micromanage your system accountability. Let's micromanage our system and our accountability. So basically, you do you, honey boo, and we do we. Again, it's the adults posting, and they're just letting the children's voices be heard and seen, like they never were before.
A real therapist helps people go back to tough memories in a safe way to work through their issues, and here's Myriad at it again, claiming to be a therapist now. Before it was just her pretending to have DID, but now she's a full-blown professional, a therapist for mental illness. How cool is that? Wow, she's come a long way. Obviously, Myriad isn't capable of doing any of this age regression therapy stuff. She's the one who needs help the most. So it's absurd to think she's the one leading therapy sessions or inviting others to join.
Okay, psychologists, since you are so learned and so practiced in psychology, explain our license in age regression therapy and actual therapy. The psychology students and majors agree helps a person to regress and experience a childhood that they didn't have. Normally, a response from extreme repetitive traumas. We say normally because it could also be just extreme trauma, like neglect, or the fact that they never had experienced love or appreciation or care. You need to give your mommy and daddy a hug because you don't understand this. So it doesn't make it a delusion, honey. It makes it a trauma response. Okay? Or to overcome everyday pain in life with joy.
Some therapists might include age regression methods in treating DID, but the thing is, DID is a complex disorder that usually needs a range of specialized treatments like therapy, medication, and especially support. Just using age regression therapy won't fully heal or cure DID. Clearly, she doesn't understand what DID really involves.
You're laughing, it was serious. We're bored. We're a dissociative system. That means his head's gone through so much. This is fun. Don't you realize I'm recognized? Relax. It's gonna be entertaining for us.
Take notes. People with this condition can face significant challenges in their daily lives due to symptoms like memory loss and feeling disconnected from their reality, caused by different identities. So how can she find this entertaining? People like her on TikTok spread the wrong ideas and stereotypes about mental health. Well, only about 1.5% of the global population has this condition, and obviously she doesn't belong to this group. It's often really tough to ignore the urge to just ditch TikTok completely because of all the cringy stuff on there, from faking death to romanticizing mental illness and more. It's unacceptable, and some content creators aren't considering the impact of their content. Because let's be honest, having a platform is a privilege, but many seem to disregard the responsibility that comes with it. Take Myriad, for example. If she truly has dissociative identity disorder, she could use her platform to raise awareness in a more constructive manner. Instead, she continues to produce videos that perpetuate harmful stereotypes, all while targeting young people as her audience.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello.
Also videos in which she made TikToks as she would tick packaging stuff for her second business, but that second business would really play out to just be her downfall as a bunch of videos resurfaced, as we'll talk about later on. On top of all of those things, she made TikToks reacting to the comments who were already at the early stages calling out her certain behavior, because apparently already at this point a lot of her tics didn't really seem natural. Now again, coming from someone that has head tics and face tics, I gotta say, certain tics in which Tics and Roses did just didn't make any sense. sense. A lot of them would really be stretched out. Like, for example, putting a bag on your head and then saying something like, ship me to Canada.
Send me to Canada!
Just doesn't seem very legit. You can almost tell as well, because a lot of these people will start to tense up their face before they actually do the tic. As for me, it just happens involuntarily. And I have no control. I don't think about it. It just kind of happens. And you can almost see her really trying to think about this before actually doing certain tics in the first place, which is a sign of somebody faking. Now, talking about the business that she had with one of her friends, that she used to sell certain products, she used to do these big, long, either podcast videos or these big live streams over on Facebook. Now, a lot of people found this and noticed something from all of that. The fact that, well, Tics and Roses did not tick. All of a sudden, she just turned into Roses. Like, she just did not tick at all. Now, I've talked about in the past, again, how I can go weeks without doing a head tick. Sure, absolutely. But it does seem very convenient that on a very short TikTok, she ticks within the span of 10 seconds. But then you put her in front of a camera where she does a live stream for over an hour, sometimes discussing her products and some of the stuff that she sells with her friend, and she doesn't tick at all. Something clearly already wasn't adding up with Tics and Roses. This is when Tics and Roses decided to actually address the rumors of her faking her Tourette's.
Hi, this is Emerald with Stardust Fiber Studio. I am one of the owners. I also do awareness videos for Tourette's on TikTok. There has been some not so nice people going around saying some very negative things.
Notice how she is already playing the victim, and on top of that, not 10 seconds in, but she has already had a tic. Now remember, with her Stardust Fiber Studio company, she has never ticked before in any of those long videos that I had previously just mentioned. But yet, here we go, straight back on TikTok again with a rather short video, and she is ticking straight away for attention.
And making some very negative allegations. This has unfortunately spread over into the business side of things and has spread over into our Instagram, our Facebook, and into the Facebooks and Instagrams of other people that we work with. I'm here to make a statement just saying that all of these allegations are false, and while there is nothing we can do about them, we are aware of them and doing our best to block people as they come up, and yeah, thank you.
Now, in my humble opinion, a rather terrible response, considering that she doesn't really offer any proof. Now, I know also a lot of people would probably come under the assumption of, why would she have to provide any proof in her videos? She doesn't have to. I feel like if you make a TikTok or a YouTube channel and you dedicate your whole personality to you having Tourette's, and like she stated earlier, likes to talk about awareness with Tourette's, I feel like it's pretty vital, if that's your whole business model, that you do provide proof. Now, she did provide proof later on, which turned out to be complete BS. We'll talk about that in a second, but apparently a lot of people weren't happy with this getting called out business, with some of the people blindly following her, making videos supporting Tics and Roses. This is again something that we talk about on my channel, where it just doesn't line up with certain individuals telling me to leave other people alone, that I shouldn't call them out for their behavior. This obviously certainly has not aged very well, considering now all the evidence has now come out with Tics and Roses, but we'll see this guy later on in the video as well. But for right now, this is what he had to say.
It's come to my attention that one of my very dear friends, Emerald at Tics and Roses, is getting accused of faking Tourette's for clout, and he's even gotten threats of death and swatting because of it. And to all those who are doing these things, I would like to say that I am sorry that your life has gotten to the point where the only way that you can feel fulfilled is by harassing another person. And I hope that one day you're able to find something positive and productive to do that will help you heal. And I hope that sometime in your life, before the end, you're able to find someone who truly loves you.
Now, why can't completely turn a blind eye and just say, I don't understand people that make videos like this? I kind of do, to a certain extent. I feel like anytime someone on the internet decides to lie about this, it's almost as if we don't really want to believe it, because why would someone lie about this? A lot of the videos that I create on my channel where people do lie about the most awful things, the type of things that you just absolutely shouldn't lie about. You really have to be quite a low person and quite the scumbag to lie about any of these things. So while I don't agree with what these people say about you should never fake claim someone on the internet, it's dangerous, I do at least see where they are somewhat coming from.
Something in my life that was good and wholesome and wonderful. And no, it didn't involve, you know, there was something in my life that was good. And now I'm having this bully from the past try to take it away after they've taken away so much, after they caused so much pain. And I can't do that anymore.
Now, again, I'm no expert, but I feel like switching from person to person while having DID and then pretending to kiss yourself is probably not how it works. You know, like I've shown in previous videos as well, people that have this disorder is super serious, and the last thing they're probably gonna want to do is to come on TikTok and make silly little 60-second videos like this, get a bunch of followers, and obviously it works. I know recently this type of stuff has been all over the news, people getting really concerned that people seem to be obsessive with this new trend that's taking TikTok. But you know, where this really does get quite dark and dangerous is that the Jessie and James TikTok account, she made a Discord where her and her modders would promote other websites that would be known for an 18+ audience, even though they were fully aware that they know that their audience majority made up of people under the age of even 15.
That's the funny thing about this place. I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's like, it's just about, like, talking and debating on the internet, but, like, it's always been a place where I can bounce my feelings off of and, like, talk about real world shit and real life shit. And you guys have always, you guys have advice.
Now, obviously, that is disgusting, but yet you still have people defending people like this because they're brought into the fact that they're not lying and they are 100% telling the truth. And the whole reason of really trying to make this video today is the fact that she has tried to make another TikTok account, even though it's been taken down. She put the bio up as back for good this time, but thankfully the TikTok has been taken down again. But honestly, I feel like she's just gonna keep trying because she probably just missed the attention that they were getting from this type of behavior. And not only was she doing the things that I've just previously mentioned, but she was basically giving kids on her Discord certain lessons without the parents' permission, which again is absolutely horrifying and disgusting. And the fact that they've got away with this, and the worst they've really got is their TikTok taken down, is actually amazing. I find that people even trying to defend this type of behavior honestly blows my mind, but I know how easy it probably is for them to manipulate their audience when they are that young themselves. And instead of owning up for their wrongdoings, they just go and do a live stream for about an hour, basically complaining and crying that, well, she thought she was doing the right thing and how it's everyone else's fault. Even though it doesn't really take a genius to understand that what she's done here is actually vile. To the point where even some of the Discord moderators came out and put out a statement warning people not to be a victim of all of this.
And ultimately, I felt like we couldn't be active enough on the server to make sure that everything was okay. Right. And I think that's just it. Like it was a noble, I would have loved to have a community. I mean, like, we were gonna read bedtime stories to everybody at night. We were reading through The Hobbit. We even have that recording. I know, it was really cute. And the idea of movie nights and, like, discussions and open panels. I loved it. But, like, we also had to, like, stream. We also had to, like, work. We also had to plan more content. And also do what we're doing now, which is, reading through all of the hate and all of the other stuff. And, like, actually, like, figuring things out and, like, then figuring out, like, what we want to do.
Back in 2021, apparently Bunny wasn't getting enough attention over on TikTok because she was posting your typical type of TikTok videos in the beginning, dancing to music while dressed up, usually in more anime kind of emo style dressing, until one day she decided to make some TikToks claiming the fact that she has one, an eating disorder, and second, and this would be the one that would be her downfall, having Tourette's. It seems to be a very common trend over on TikTok, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, of people trying to boost and elevate their viewership and followers by claiming to have a disorder that they don't simply have. We've seen this countless times on this channel especially, and while unfortunately it does work, it always comes back to bite them in the butt. Every time, the truth always seems to come out. And in this case, she tried to spread this fake narrative for people to feel bad for her.
I've always considered myself to be OSDD, one be, because we have very distinct alters, but we don't have a lot of amnesia between us. And that's kind of not true. There's more amnesia than I thought there was. But we don't have blackout amnesia. We don't have full switches. We're almost always co-con and co-conscious and co-fronting. Like, there's always multiple people at the front. So we never experience blackout switches. We never wake up and are suddenly not aware of where we are or how we got here or anything. But we have a lot of grey out amnesia, which is like, we'll be writing something in a book and then we turn the page and we won't remember what we wrote on the previous page. But I know that we were writing. I'm aware that we were writing and we're still writing. But I just can't remember anything that I physically wrote down. But I know that I was writing. So, yeah, I don't really know what those are called. We are currently seeing a therapist who is not DID centered, but they have a colleague that has worked with a lot of DID patients. So while they don't have like a hands-on, like, they've got a little bit of history because they've worked with DID patients before, but they're not like an expert. So when I ask her questions, she will ask her friend questions, and then, like, eventually the answer will get back to me. But I can't ask her directly, like, what the fuck is going on, because she doesn't know. But after doing a lot of research, like, looking stuff up, watching videos, hearing from other systems, and just a lot of other stuff, I'm worried that we might be polyfragmented. For a couple different reasons. So one of the reasons why I think we might be polyfragmented is because a lot of our parts are fragments. They're not whole alters. And I didn't realize it because we have a couple of alters that are more fully formed and are, you know, the individual parts, not the emotional parts, right? Like the normal parts. But as I've, like, realized the system and as I've, like, looked into it more, both with just, like, outside descriptions and internal working, there are fewer and fewer apparently normal parts, and there are more and more fragments. And then the most concerning thing is subsystems. I've heard a fair amount about subsystems, and I'm concerned. I'm just very concerned, basically. A lot of our fully formed alters are the colours, like yellow and black and lavender and blue. There's more, but the colours seem to be more fully formed. But looking closer at the colours individually, I'm worried that they're subsystems because they kind of seem like multiple people, but they're the one. But it's so confusing, and I don't know how to explain it. Like, the best describing way is that the people who we think, or who we're side-eyeing as subsystems, are alters who change, but not change as in, like, I don't know, it's like when we first discovered that we were a system, and I was like, oh no, it's just like there's a work me and there's a happy me and there's a sad me, and like there's just different me's in my head. It's like that. Like Blue, for example, who's the best example that we've got, there's the self-destructive Blue, there's the addict Blue, there's the party girl Blue. Like there's so many different versions of Blue, but it's still just Blue. Like there's baby Blue, but it's still blue. But it's not. But it is. We're trying to bring it up to our therapist, but there's a lot of other stuff that we're also talking about because we just have so many fucking issues right now that it's not like immediate. It's not like this needs to happen because that's like gonna be homeless. That's the most important. Like, I need money. That's the number one fucking thing. It's not, maybe some of the people in my head are multiple people. Like, that's not fucking important in the grand scheme of things. But I would like to know more about myself if that would be helpful. And like, Blue's not the only one too. Like, Blue's the main one. Blue's the first one that we suspected. But I'm pretty sure Lavender's also a subsystem because I think Lavender is a mix of, obviously Lavender's like a caretaker, but I don't know who else is in Lavender, but I feel like Lavender encompasses both Toriel and Muffet from fucking Undertale. And we just had this like moment because we were thinking and just doing things and just like being dumb, and anyway, and then our brain was like, Muffet fictive, and then we were like, no, baking, that's all Lavender. And then we had this moment where it was like, baking Lavender feels like Muffet, but parenting Lavender feels like Toriel. But they don't have names, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So if any, like, polyfragmented systems would, like, maybe want to comment about, like, your experiences, that'd be great. And also, if anyone has any tips on how to do a head count with a large number of alters when you don't know all of the alters, that would be super helpful too, because I don't have an accurate head count. I don't think anyone has an accurate head count, but it's like really high, maybe in the hundreds. Yay! If you made it to the end, then you get a cookie.
So back to the Rainbow system, she's usually posting skits and giving updates about her system. Yeah, cool. She's rolling out system updates, I guess, at this point, like she's Apple or something, dropping her new iOS updates or something. I mean, I do wonder what her latest update patch notes looks like. I mean, if I'm not mistaken myself, I'm actually currently on version 17.5. I'm pretty satisfied so far. It's just so silly. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, this person says she has over 100 alters, identifying herself as polyfragmented system. Well, now I guess it seems having plain old DID is too mainstream for her, so I guess she's going for that extra special, look at me, I've got something you definitely don't have vibe. Again, very cool. So, polyfragmented systems involve creating another part of oneself to endure severe abuse, often without the host being aware, until therapy can uncover it. These systems are typically characterized by having over 100 alters, but it's not just about the number, it's also about the complexity of how these alters are fragmented, with intricate layers and subsystems usually only seen in severe cases. So, self-diagnosing or claiming this condition without proof is definitely not realistic and makes light of a very serious issue. But they don't care. As long as they get the likes that they feel like they so truly deserve on TikTok, it doesn't matter. Oh, and the Rainbow system says she definitely does fit the bill. I mean, I guess everybody's throwing around the DID card these days, so shut up guys. Let the Rainbow system stand out. She deserves it, but seriously, she only talks about having this unrealistic amount of alters, which isn't the only criteria for being polyfragmented. It's All very suspicious, especially since she's the one who introduced DID to her own mind, not her therapist. She probably put all the fingers down after watching some stupid TikTok video about self-diagnosing. You know the trend. We've all seen the videos. Put a finger down if you walk on your tippy toes. For the love of God, I do feel like most people watching this do understand that is not criteria for being diagnosed with something. Guys, put a finger down if your tummy hurts. Well, sorry to tell you, you have cancer. It's just silly. And while polyfragmented DID is acknowledged by many experts as rare, it gets a lot of hype online, making it seem more common than it actually is. Shocker, I know. Now, I get that social media can be a lifeline for finding support and connecting with others with similar situations, but when those conditions become someone's entire online identity, it really blurs the line. And one thing I've been noticing also among the younger crowd is this push to destigmatize mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and even DID. Everyone's suddenly a spokesperson for mental health, which is cool in theory, right? I mean, the more we talk about it, the better. But in my opinion, the core issue is also this. There will always be a flood of people claiming these disorders without proper diagnosis, just because it's no longer taboo. Suddenly it's cool, it's quirky, or it's just a convenient excuse. With all these openings, some people are taking it a step too far, in my opinion. And honestly, that's clearly what people like the Rainbow System are capitalizing on, who is also practically at this point just dishing out medical advice straight from Google.
If you're not making them respond, if they're responding on their own accord, that's a system. And I know it can be very difficult sometimes, particularly with OSDD systems, to be like, oh, but I don't know if I'm actually making them respond, and I don't know if I'm making this all blah, 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 blah. The real kicker is when it's the two of them. When it's the people in your head and they take control. When they switch in, when you feel like you become different people, even if you don't black out necessarily, that is a system. You'll also have a lot of amnesia, particularly childhood amnesia, even if it's not blackout amnesia from day to day. You'll have a lot of like emotional, like grey out amnesia and being like, I can't really remember everything that happened last week, but like I know stuff happened. Being in denial is also one of the biggest symptoms. Like we're constantly like, oh my god, we're not a system. We do all of these reasons why we're faking that, we're making it up. And then our friends turn around and be like, you literally, you have freckles, and then you don't. Like you do, but it's way more obvious. You're not, it's a physical change in your body.
Damn. It's like watching one blind person leading another straight into a pit. Seriously, she's just saying, oh, you're in denial. You've definitely got DID or OSDD. You've already got the symptoms. Just tell your dumbass therapist to make it official. This makes me want to blow my brains out, in all seriousness, guys. This is ridiculous. This notion of teenagers suddenly knowing more than therapists is kind of hair-pulling, in my opinion. Pushing people to label their situation based on random online information creates a lot of unnecessary confusion. Suddenly, everyone thinks they're a professional, arriving at their own conclusions with whatever matches the latest TikTok trend. This is obviously something that we have seen now more and more often over these last few years, and it's only getting worse.
My best advice is to Google, particularly DSM-5 is very good with the list of symptoms, and talk to a counselor, talk to a doctor, talk to someone, talk to a specialist. Go say hi. This is how you can tell this video. That video got so much traction, and a lot of them were eggs and people in denial, so here we are.
Well, she's at it again, trying to get herself diagnosed. I mean, she basically lists all the signs of DID and checked off all the boxes to convince her doctor to diagnose her, which By the way, not sure at this point if she really has one, but okay, whatever floats her boat, I guess. But now she's advocating for listing down shits, then handing over the paper containing the signs of your described condition to a licensed therapist. When your whole online presence is built around your mental health disorder, why wouldn't you push for the label? Right? Which can be quite worrying to see. Now, although I think certain social media platforms can be a great way to share information, I also think it's a double-edged blade. That being, talking from an emotional charged standpoint in which you then claim that information to be 100% real, in which lies misinformation. And in one of those cases, we can actually see that, as a TikToker by the name of Tiny Comedian actually calls her out for this, and does a rather great job doing so, as Rain creates a TikTok with the caption saying, "And when I was younger, my brothers used to make fun of my radical word kids by going stim." To which the TikToker Tiny Comedian responded with some actual real information.
Hi, I saw your clip, and what you're model mimicking is really not something that has to do with stimming or autism. Typically people who do that type of movement deal with a form of cerebral palsy. Like myself, I have to have Botox injections in my legs and my arms to get them out of that rigid state, as well as physical therapy 2 to 3 times a day to stretch those muscles. But when I sleep or I'm in a relaxed state, they do go up. Now the type of movement that you were doing is called a clonic movement, where the muscle will tremble because it's so fatigued, and so you'll get that type of rapid, uncontrolled movement. It's not really a stim. And when your brothers or whoever you mentioned are making fun of, quote, individuals with the R word, it's not just people with autism. It can be any intellectual disability. People with cerebral palsy can have intellectual disabilities or other learning impairments, or they can have normal cognitive function. It just depends on which part of the brain is affected. But normally, if you see this type of rigid movement up to the chest, it is an indication of some sort of brain issue, a neurological issue, and not really associated with autism. It's not a stim. So I just wanted to point out that you reclaiming something that wasn't really yours, and not everything that has to do with the R word or autism is a stim. Sometimes there's very valid reasons for certain movements, and now you know, so you can maybe stop doing that.
In which, after the fact, I just find that this TikToker seems to double down. Now, like I stated earlier, she did in fact make a video addressing the whole fake disorder cringe subreddit. It appears that she doesn't necessarily mind being called out, but at the same time does. She claims that she sees where you guys are coming from, but also not to really question her. She doesn't like to be challenged, and defaults to the whole argument of fake claiming is disgusting, which I actually find to be rather a massive cop-out. Some people do claim that fake claiming people online is a disgusting thing to do, but I also think that some of the people that say that are also hiding behind that. This internet personality actually celebrated her dissociative identity disorder diagnosis with a cake, which reads happy DID diagnosis. Really? Now look, I understand it can, for some people, it absolutely be refreshing to finally get a diagnosis. I'm not knocking that at all. I understand that having something wrong with you for the longest time and finally figuring out what it is relieving and actually probably makes a lot of people feel happy that they can put a name on the thing that they have. It just gives them an all-round better understanding. I get that. But what I do not get for the life of me, and most of you agree here because this is quite a talking point on the channel, as I see a lot of people still bring it up even today, is going out of your way to buy a cake with happy DID diagnosis on it and posting that to TikTok and celebrating it while making videos, almost flaunting your disorder. Is that not a bit over the line?
Okay, so I'm at the superstore and I'm gonna get a cake. I'm gonna get a cake that also, this is inspired by Kai Robinson on Twitter, who had the congrats on the autism cake. I'm gonna get a happy DID diagnosis cake. Let's go.
Could I get some writing on this cake?
Look at it go! I just did a little photo shoot. Oh my god, wish me luck.
From what I remember, DID, like any other disorder or condition, makes life a living hell filled with trauma and suffering. This is obviously a very serious condition and makes you feel like you're out of touch with your own experiences or completely forgot things you've done or said, even though others remember them. The confusion and stress of feeling like you're observing your own life from an outside perspective is almost unimaginable. Oh, and no medication can truly cure this. So, yay? Congrats, you have DID? Just think about it. How you would react if someone said to you, amazing, you've really made it. Seriously, if someone said that to me, my blood would probably boil. You are congratulating me for having an untreatable disorder. Are you okay? And look, let's get one thing clear. I'm totally not just outright fake claiming pixie lots. I suppose we'll figure out the truth by the end of this video. But celebrating a disorder that turns life into a nightmare for others feels deeply inappropriate and utterly disrespectful and confusing. I mean, especially since the people I know with DID aren't exactly throwing confetti about it. And look, yes, people do absolutely deal with things in their own ways, but this is a line that's being crossed that honestly just doesn't even make any sense, more than anything.
This is a mess. I'm sorry. This is gonna be the absolute messiest meet the altar imaginable. Are you kidding me? Sorry, have fun editing this. But in a social situation, and especially online, I really don't care about a lot of stuff that she cares about. And we didn't even realize that until we were in therapy. And yeah, our therapist was like, we can tag you as like a social media protector as well. And I was like, oh, slay. So I'm helpful in multiple ways. Thank you very much.
So what prompted me to make a video about her? Well, the numerous inconsistencies in her stories and the way she consistently shifts from one mental health issue to another, with dissociated identity disorder, DID, being the latest addition to her long list. So Pixie Lot started her YouTube channel at 16 with a focus on Lolita fashion, and honestly I wish she'd kind of just stuck with that, because over the years her content has shifted to talking about her serious disorders, starting with borderline personality disorder, BPD, and schizophrenia. Now she's saying she has DID, which makes me very skeptical, especially with the evidence pointing to a different direction. In one of her videos, she even admitted she didn't know about DID until she had stumbled across it online.
I split off because we just simply needed someone that would enjoy it and take it because it was inescapable and happening multiple times over multiple months.
Jill is getting triggered because we're talking about our salt. Jill is getting triggered, but it is not my fault. Let's take a drink.
She initially was just looking in from the outside in the adjacent mental health sphere, saying, "Oh no, trust me, I don't have it," but after watching other YouTubers, especially the big ones like Dissociated, she seemed to latch on to the idea, and you can actually hear the enthusiasm in her voice.
Other people in real life that like follow these people, you're like, oh my god, did you see that video? I love Jeremy, they're so cute together. Oh my god, the proposal, tee-hee. And all of this absolute joy and wonder that the Anthony Padilla dissociative identity disorder brought, I think, the community. I'm not in the DID community, of course. I'm only looking in from the outside in the adjacent mental health sphere, I guess.
And in one of her interviews, she gasped about feeling all warm and fuzzy when she found out about her favorite creators or celebrities had the same disorder as her. Honestly, at this point, I'm not shocked anymore. If Dissociated and Team Panata are a big part of that special connection she feels. When she first started making videos to destigmatize mental health issues, it honestly was really nice and a noble effort, but it looks like she got so wrapped up in the DID hype that she had started to think, hey, maybe I want in on this too.
No. This is not cool. No, it's not. People who really have this disorder suffer greatly. I know. I have it. I am suffering greatly. I promise they don't behave like this. This is ridiculous. This just in, folks. I am never, ever allowed to have fun, ever. I am traumatized. I am supposed to only be sad. I can only be sad. I'm only allowed to be sad. No fun ever. No happiness for you. Sad people aren't allowed to make jokes about being sad. What else am I supposed to make jokes about? I don't do anything else.
Very nice to meet you. My name is Astra. I am the newest member of the solar system. I came from a fusion of 5 different alters in our system. Alira, Nox, Dazzle, Smoke, and Elise all fused together to create me. My primary function is the same as Alira's. I hold our spiritual and religious trauma, and I am our spiritual protector.
Fuck. So, from seeing some of those videos, I'm sure you guys are pretty well caught up now. If you are a fan of this channel and you have been watching for a while, then you'll know how DID roughly kind of works. Let's be honest, it's a very complex thing, and me, myself, don't exactly 100% know. But one thing is for certain, creating different personas and then being able to use TikTok.
The bangs will need to be trimmed, like the others, because they are very, very long and I cannot see. But it's fluffy and it's, oh yes.
Implies to me that you are still conscious enough and haven't fully switched, because you are still using abilities that you yourself know, like using your phone, setting up the camera, editing it, and then posting it. Also, why would you want to post it? As we've discussed in previous videos, with DID, you will create certain alters to try and hide from certain trauma. So you don't actually want to even know about your own alters. So again, why would you record every single one of them and upload it to TikTok? It's no lie at this point that this type of behavior does extremely well online. I mean, look at the likes, the comments, the followers even, and the views. I'm sure it does get slightly addicting to these people, and it's kind of hard to break the stigma. As bad as it is that people have now come out saying that they no longer have DID, I have to somewhat give it to them that they did manage to break away from this. My theory is people like this carry on and just spread misinformation. And this case really is just a tricky one. They do claim to have a diagnosis, not that I've seen it, but you can't really go around asking for papers and asking and demanding. Some things really are, you just have to take their word for it. That being said, let's move over now to some of the things that they definitely are faking. Because sure, playing off of the camera isn't exactly ideal when it comes to misinformation, especially when impressionable kids watch this type of content, because let's be honest, I get so many messages even now saying, Ablaze, just let them be, they're not hurting anyone. Well, they certainly are. The people that actually have this, for one. Second, spreading misinformation is a bad thing. Let's say you had something and now there's this whole stigma out there online, but it's all completely wrong. It would do your head in, I'm sure. So yes, that is already bad enough, but here are some of the things that the solar system has actually just straight up faked. And I know this because in some of their videos, some of the hashtags that they decided to use for some reason, and also in their bio, it literally said undiagnosed ADHD. Some people are a strong believer in self-diagnosis because they believe nobody knows yourself better than you do. While that sounds really cool, at the end of the day, you're not a doctor, and understanding yourself is very different from understanding a mental health condition. They're two very different things. Just because she now has a diagnosis with something like DID doesn't now give her a free pass to pick and choose some different ones that she wants with that. Which leads me on to the next thing. She claims that she has OSDD and that her therapist isn't a specialist in that. Also, her therapist apparently says that OSDD and DID are the same thing, which for your therapist to be saying is completely inaccurate, especially according to other specialists in the field who define the differences in both of those disorders.
So a friend of ours tagged us in the comment section of a video talking about where the line between DID and OSDD is, and they wanted to know our thoughts on it. And I'm going to be honest, there isn't really one. Dissociation is a spectrum, and so any dissociative disorder is going to exist on that same spectrum, and it applies to systems as well. One of the reasons why there isn't a hard line between DID and OSDD1, specifically 1A and 1B, is because systems experiences vary wildly. There are some similarities between systems, and that's where we get the diagnostic criteria, but everyone's experience is so unique that it's really, really difficult to determine in a lot of cases between DID and OSDD. We identify as an OSDD-1B system because based on how the language is written currently in the DSM-5, that's what we feel best describes our experiences. However, our therapist has said that really she could diagnose us either way, OSDD or DID.
Now, to make this video slightly different, because let's be honest, I do feel like a lot of these can be kind of the same. An annoying British guy rambling on for far too long. So I've actually decided to go on my way to ask some actual questions about this with someone that actually has DID. Now again, like I've mentioned earlier on in the video, just because you are diagnosed with DID doesn't exactly make you an expert. But having said that, having a diagnosis definitely makes you a bit more knowledgeable about the whole thing. More knowledgeable than me anyway. But I would like to stress though that these are just her thoughts, so definitely keep that in mind. And with that all being said, here's the questions that I decided to ask. Starting with, what's your opinion on people that claim to have DID, then start creating fun TikToks about it?
My opinion on that's pretty vague. It's basically point blank. It's not cosplay. DID is not fun. DID is not wearing wigs, makeup, and using TikTok filters. DID is not a thing to glamorize child age regress states with binkies and onesies and diapers. There is a big difference between educating on DID and cosplaying it for views and followers. And my problem is I want that kind of stuff shut down, especially the drug and sexualization. It is immoral and wrong to display alternative states like that. And I find a lot of people that I've talked to that it hurts them as well. People that are legitimately diagnosed, they find that the glamorization of DID being used and OSDD being used in such a manner is harming their therapy because people have gotten to the point where they're displaying it so immorally. Are there times where people that have DID can have fun and do things? Absolutely. And sometimes a switch or alternative state may help guide in the process of that. But most of the time, alternative states are something that is used as a coping mechanism to deal with stress or fear or issues when you will feel uncomfortable in a place that you're not comfortable in.
And is DID and OSDD the same? And what are the differences between them?
So no, DID and OSDD are not the same, and they have similar symptoms, but there are things that are quite distinct between the two. So I'm going to reference off the APA here and tell you the differences between them. So the APA put out in 2013, someone with OSDD has dissociative symptoms, but they do not meet the sufficient criteria to be diagnosed with either depersonalization disorder, dissociative amnesia, and dissociative fatigue, or dissociative identity disorder. Now, Colin Ross, the #1 doctor on DID in the world who specializes in DID, states, most cases of OSDD are partial forms of DID with lack either clear switching of executive control, full amnesia barriers between identity states, or clear differentiation and structure of identity state. So usually what even like James Chu in 2011, who also specializes in DID, had stated that, you know, people with OSDD who do not, they don't have the extreme identity separation of like what dissociative identity disorder represents. I think the big thing with OSDD also is that you can show dissociative symptoms, but the #1 criteria for clinicians, as stated by Caroline Spring, is if you have not met a full-blown alter with amnesic barriers, it's not DID. And it will usually be put under the OSDD category until further assessments can be done. So the big difference also is that OSDD in A&P and EP parts, A&P is fully co-conscious for what other parts are saying and doing, especially the emotional personalities or EPs, then that is not full DID. So then it will be put under the category of OSDD.
I hope you have a really great day. Bye.